What I do is I'd explain that there are different types of risk, including the one of not growing the money any at all, because that is a risk itself.
That is also a risk.
A lot of the times the clients don't fully understand, the risk. The objective really is to minimize the risk as best as possible, because nothing is risk-free in this world, right? So you want to minimize the risk, find out what level of risk the customer, the client can take, and then you want to make recommendations based on the risk and how comfortable they feel with that particular investment. Right. So once they build, once they've done the explanation, that will build the confidence and
Welcome to the Kommon Cents podcast. Kommon Cents, make it make sense. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also check us out on our socials at Kommon Cents University. So they said that money talks, but today we are speaking with someone who knows exactly how to make it grow. Joining us today is a true veteran in the world of wealth management. Rohan McDonald has spent more than 3 decades in the financial service industry, including over 20 years with NCB Financial Group, where he's built an award-winning reputation for helping clients grow, protect, and manage their wealth. So Rohan is known for his strong work ethic, his passion for creating value, and his commitment for delivering exceptional customer experiences. His customers often speak highly of his calm, professional approach, and also trust him for his deep knowledge and expertise when it comes to making important financial decisions. What really sets Rohan apart is his ability to understand each client's unique goal and circumstances and appetite for risk. He also takes the time to listen, provide guidance, and tailor solutions that help people achieve their financial objectives. He's also someone that believes in continuous learning. Rohan holds a master's degree in banking from Edinburgh Napier University. He's going to teach us how to pronounce that in a second. And he keeps a close eye on emerging trends and developments in the financial sector. And when he's not helping clients build wealth, you'll probably find him supporting the best sports team in the world, the Arsenal Football Club.
Best what?
Arsenal Football Club.
Rohan, welcome, man. Welcome.
Man, definitely excited to have you here. All right.
Boy, everything sounds good except the team that he just mentioned, but carry on.
Boy, they know the Arsenal haters, them,
The haters, man, they work hard. Yeah, man, definitely want to introduce our co-host as well, Witta, the legend. How you doing, Witta?
Blessed, man. The joy.
And Q. How you doing, Q?
Salute. Try see if we can get some advice from the genius himself,
Yeah, man, absolutely. That is what it's all about today. All right, so Rohan, before we even talk money, we have to talk about who is Rohan McDonald outside of banking. What drives you?
All right, Rohan McDonald outside of banking. So definitely Rohan is a family man. My family is really my anchor, and I know that may seem cliche, but in certainly in my situation, that is really so. I just enjoy spending time with my family. My everything surrounds my family, my wife and my 2 kids. That's what really motivates me. I am also big on cooking. I think I'm the next Bobby Flay. So you will find me in the kitchen and trying to do my thing. Uh, I love travel
Yes,
and just experience different cultures and different cuisine. I find it quite interesting. The world is such a big place. I think if everybody can and have the opportunity to travel, that they really should do so. And of course, as I said before, Kemar, I'm passionate about my Arsenal football team. I think I'm one of the biggest fan. But I'm
second
passionate
biggest.
about sports in general, basketball, NFL, cricket at one point in time. But generally,
When you rooting for the Knicks?
for the Knicks, you know what? I have been a long-standing Knicks fan. To be honest, I kind of wanted San Antonio to win. But Knicks winning
Really?
is I am good with Knicks winning, because from Patrick Ewing, if you're a Jamaican, I know, so boy, you're going to support the Knicks with the Ewing all of those days. So I am good with Knicks winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
And I
Fair
think
enough.
you have a lot of Jamaicans in the Bronx as well in New York, so supporting Nick. So definitely, it's a team that we can relate to.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Mhm. All right, so yeah, man, it sounds like you're a man of many likes. It's there's a
Well-rounded individual, eh?
well-rounded, well-traveled and everything. So growing up though, was banking or finance something that you ever imagined yourself doing?
Actually, no, I did not think about banking
Don't tell us that you
or
wanted to be a footballer. Don't tell us that.
no, no such aspirations. So actually, growing up, I wanted to be a policeman because my dad was a police, right?
Okay.
my dad was a police, and back in the days, I mean, being a police was different than how it is now.
Yeah,
I used to travel with him, and you have that respect and that sort of reverence for police officers at the time, and I was really really impressed by the reaction of individuals to him. So I really really wanted to be a policeman, just to follow in my dad's footsteps, but
Mm.
it didn't work out like that. I am in a field which I think I'm doing so much more, creating value and helping individuals achieve all that they want to achieve financially. So definitely,
yeah.
finance or banking wasn't my in my planning, but you are led to something sometime.
Point
You know,
taken.
I'm a bit curious. What was your first job ever, and what kind of discipline? What discipline that teach you about work ethics and all of that?
So my first job, Q, was actually as a teacher.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yes, I was a teacher, my first job. And of course, that played such a huge part in shaping my approach and to work and discipline. Um, it definitely taught me to that you have to prepare, and also that consistency matter. Now, I don't know if you guys know, as a teacher, you have to have a weekly lesson plan, right? So you would have to really prepare as to what you're going to
And
impart.
trust me, as teacher, the lesson plan is one of the things that I
Yeah,
won't
the
say that
lesson
again.
plan, your lesson plan, right? So from then, it really taught me that, guess what? You have to prepare, right?
What
Because you
school was
can't.
that?
So first of all, it was Marcus Garvey Technical High School. All
Mm-hmm.
right, everybody, you guys probably know Marcus Garvey.
Yeah, man,
You
definitely.
probably
Yeah.
do not know of this other school, which is very, very rural in St. Ann, called Bensonton All Age.
Mm.
I'm sure you guys have not heard of Bensonton, right? So that's
Where
very
in St. Ann
rural.
is that?
So that is almost on the border of Clarendon.
Oh, it's like rural.
Yeah, rural.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So as I said, you have to have a lesson plan. So you can't walk into the classroom unprepared and you're going to expect the results. You can't go there standing in front of the kids, not knowing what you are going to be doing for that day, for that week. So you definitely
Exactly.
have to plan. You have to show up every day and deliver regardless of how you
We
feel.
have something in common. I was at Ocher's Primary School. I went to the
Okay, yeah.
Sancta Peter's College. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right. So we do have that in common,
Yes, indeed. Indeed.
So
right?
you so from teaching, but all the way to your role that you're in right now, investing and wealth and all of these things. What do you think? What do you say? Or who do you say is your biggest influence when it comes on to money and success?
When it comes on to money and success, at this point, I would say, certainly the chairman for NCB Financial Group, Mr. Michael Leachin. His
Mm-hmm.
story is quite inspiring.
Yeah.
Leaving Jamaica, attending university in Canada, actually. And when he shares his journey of how he started in university, what he did to get a scholarship from the Jamaican government, it really showed a lot of resilience. And then he transitioned into wealth management and creating a successful investment company in Canada. And
Nice.
and certainly since he acquired NCB in the early 2000s, he has this passion and that he wants to help create a better Jamaica, and he wants to empower Jamaicans how to create wealth. Everyone to create wealth. He has his philosophy and his framework that he truly believes in, and not just creating wealth for ourselves, no, but also creating generational wealth
But
for our children and their grandchildren. Right. So
and
certainly.
also that he's a billionaire, no? I'm inspired to be
Yeah,
like him as
yeah,
well.
right, right. So when it comes on to success and money and creating wealth, I mean, I can't look very, very much further than the chairman of NCB Financial Group, Mr.
Definitely
Michael
a
Ritchie.
prominent figure. Definitely.
Yeah, man. I think he created Portland Holdings in Canada.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and how did you hear that story though? Because I'm intrigued. How did
How did
you
I
come
hear
across
that
that?
story?
Yeah. Yeah.
You mean in terms of the
His
chairman's
journey.
his journey? Well, I mean, it states it quite clearly, because it's a teaching moment to say that this is what you can do, right? The resilience that he would have shown. So all of these traits and characteristics that he would have demonstrated, he himself would have, when we have staff meetings and just in general public, he would have shared his story and his journey because it's certainly an
Okay.
inspiration.
No, the reason I'm asking because I want to hear it because, maybe that's the spark I'm waiting on. But tell me something. How did you get started in banking? Because you were teaching at one point. So what was that story like?
So how did I
Or that
transition from
transition?
from
Yeah.
teaching
What was
into
that transition
banking?
like?
So
Hmm.
being a teacher certainly it has its rewards. I mean you are helping to shape the future, so to speak, with these children, and it's an awesome responsibility, knowing that what you do will have an impact on these kids, on their lives and their future. But after being doing that for about 3 years, I really wanted something that was a bit more challenging in a different direction. I mean, it also helped that my sister was in banking as well, and
Oh,
she kind of guided me along that way to explore that option. So it wasn't a planned to the extent or to take into to say that I deliberately set out from early to get into banking, right? But it was an
hmm.
option to get into the corporate world, and being in Ocherius, there weren't a lot of options. As I said, I was guided by my sister who was already in the financial
Yeah.
sector into banking, right? And certainly that would have led me along that way. And the teaching would have partaken certain principles which I took along. As I said, the accountability is being one, the adaptability. So I was able to transition successfully from that role into my new role as someone in the financial sector.
So just a quick question, because it's quite odd, and I'm sure our listeners are listening. When you said from teaching you wanted something more challenging,
More
one thing
challenge
that teaching
that caught my
is the
attention
most
too.
challenging thing ever. You know what I mean? So what part of so to say your growth that you think was missing that I said you think well banking was more challenging or you could build on it?
So banking, so you're teaching, right? and and
Mhm.
and it really was the same thing more or less every day, right?
Um,
You're in the
Mm,
classroom, you have a lesson
curriculum over and
preparing.
over. Mhm.
yeah.
Exactly.
Monotonous.
So banking gave me the opportunity to have different experiences with interactions with different clients. Each person is
Yeah.
unique, have a different scenario. Right, and also I wanted to expand my knowledge. So I wanted a different bit of stimulation, something that will really drive me a bit more. So not to say that
Yeah.
teaching
Yeah.
wasn't challenging, but it was a different banking and the financial sector was a different challenge that I wanted to experience.
Mhm.
Definitely understand. Because with you being a teacher, it's almost like, what are you learning if you're the one always teaching? So I think
You're the
banking,
one. Yeah,
Banking is
so
a huge teacher because you learn something new every day, man.
you do learn something new.
Yeah.
You do
But
learn something.
was there anything that surprised you? In that transition, like that I don't know if you were ready for it or not ready. Well, like what surprised you the most when you transition over to banking?
Um, so what surprised me the most was really, when I was coming from the teaching background and you've been on the outside of the banking, you just think it's about transactional and it's all this financial and money and different things relating to numbers. But when you actually get into banking, you realize that what it is building relationships with different individuals, understanding each customer behavior, and you're building the trust and the communication and explaining different concepts as to how you can assist the client, right? So I think that was the major what surprised me the most. Just coming in and really realizing that banking is more than just the financial transactions. It's more about individuals, helping individuals with their own unique needs and assisting them as they go along.
Love that.
You have been in this industry for over 2 decades. You know, that's a long time.
Yeah, it
What
really is.
what would you say? What would you say early on that motivated to continue?
Boy, that's a great question. And honestly, the early years in wealth management is really what defined you as to if you want to stay in that area or not. All right. So of course, when you start within that field, there's a strong desire that you want to prove yourself, where the credibility is really given, and it's built over a period of time. So you want to prove yourself that this is something that you
Mm-hmm.
can do. So you're motivated by different timelines. Your first clients that you interact with, onboarding that big client, building that big portfolio, and getting new clients, referrals from your existing clients. So that will now create a little brand for you to say that, hey, this is somebody who knows what they are doing, right? Then you
Yes.
realize that what it is that you are doing is having a real impact on individuals. So you what you're doing has a direct effect on the decisions on people's lives.
Right.
So you're
Yeah.
helping somebody to retire comfortable. You're
Yeah.
structuring something that will help a family that their children go to university. All right. You have clients, the ups and downs in the markets and the financial markets. You're helping through that process. So that sense of responsibility and getting real personal now and having that connection with your clients to say that what you are doing, it really creating value and really
You
matters.
change it, and you're changing lives.
You're changing lives. That is so true.
Yes.
You are absolutely right. Changing lives, whether negatively or positively, because the flip side is that if you do give somebody the wrong investment
Bad
advice,
advice.
if something is not in line with what their objectives are or the risk that they can afford to take at that particular time, then you can really set them back. So it's an awesome responsibility, the role of what I do. And as I said, you're really changing lives in a positive way.
Yes. When did you really realize that you can take this on as a career, wealth management? When did you realize, okay, yes, I can seriously take this on as a career?
Okay. So it wasn't like a big haha moment, really. It is more like a quiet shift. And
Mhm.
during your journey and your career, you realize that the clients are really starting to trust you as an
Yes.
individual and the advice that you give. And
Mhm.
not just the institution, because there are a lot of institutions. So it is now that relationship that you would have built with your client. And when the clients now coming to the bank, they're asking for you by the name. They call you instead of the branch. right? They start to share their, their financial concerns, and not just transactions they're doing. They may tell you about that, they may have investment here, they may have do this at other institutions. So you become that trusted person that they
In
can
other
share
words, they
with.
become a therapy as well, eh?
Can I repeat that?
In other words, they become a
Therapy.
therapy as well, right? A therapy
That
as
is
well.
absolutely so. Right. So you realize that, this isn't just a job that they're doing, they're building real relationships with people, and there's actual value in it, right? And you really move from just selling a product, and what you're doing now, you're solving financial problems, right? And you're really thinking strategically about the client's objective and their full financial lives, the impact on the decisions and the recommendations that you are going to do. So that is when now you feel like it's not just a role. It's really a profession. That is something that this is something that you really, really can do to create some value for clients.
So just an icebreaker. I'm the man who tap in now and then. Just give us a unique story that stood out once you think about your life experience. You can say this story stood out most of all. You don't have to give any names, don't have to give the exact recollection of it, but what story stood out for you?
I mean, there has been many, many stories as it relates to the advice that we give. There was a particular situation where a client really was uncertain of the market. He had an objective of helping his child to university. Wasn't earning a significant amount of funds, but as parents, we want the best for our children and provide them with an opportunity that we didn't have. So that connected with me, and I was able to create something and encourage that particular client to be consistent and invest on a frequent basis. And at the end of the timeline that we set, he was able to achieve those objectives to help his child to go through university.
Amazing.
Yeah, man. So
Oh,
that was really impactful, and it just demonstrated as to the important role we as wealth managers and advisors do have, um, you know, in the future of the country, really.
very interesting.
Feel like we need way more of that nowadays, and it's lacking.
Okay, Mario in
But
banking as well, right?
yes, but on the other side, other side of the pond, we need more of that in Jamaica. All right, but
Broad, you
let's
know
change
that
it up
came
a
out as
little
a
bit
book?
though.
You know that came
What?
out as a book as well?
Okay, no, I didn't.
The Millionaire's Syllabus. Okay, so author Kamar Jackson basically took his own journey, from struggling financially to figuring it all out. And this book, it's like a roadmap, really practical, showing you exactly how to build wealth step by step. It's not just luck, right? First off, what's really neat is the syllabus structure. He breaks down getting wealthy into 4 key parts: getting smart about money, learning how to invest, actually starting businesses, and working on yourself. So you tackle it piece by piece, not just randomly hoping for the best. Second, Jackson gets right down to the practical stuff. Like, this isn't just vague advice about budgeting. No, it's about learning how to actually use your money smartly. Finding those high-yield investments and setting up income streams that kind of run themselves, stuff that really works for you. And finally, look, it's not all numbers, right? You gotta have the right mindset. Jackson talks about developing this millionaire mindset, which is all about constantly learning and improving and having real discipline. It's that mental game you need to actually stick with the plan even when things get tricky. So, bottom line, if you feel lost in all the financial complexity, the Millionaire Syllabus gives you that clear blueprint you need to actually move forward with confidence.
Oh yeah, man, the Millionaire Syllabus.
Yeah, but they're
We
sure.
can talk about it after.
Okay,
Yeah.
no, definitely.
It's the things you need to know when you're pursuing wealth. But
You
we can.
definitely need to look at the chairman's philosophy. I mean, he has this framework that he says, when you look at all successful persons, there's a framework that they follow. And yeah, so we should have that conversation, Kemar. It's really interesting.
All right. I'm going to hold it to it, definitely. All right. So I'm going to switch it up a little bit. Now, I noticed that you earned an MBA in banking.
Correct.
Right? And that was in Edinburgh Napier University. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. But
I think it's actually Edinburgh Napier.
It's Napier. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Why you're far off, Jackson?
Far off. What put you to pursue it at this stage in your career? Well, not this stage, but when you did it.
At that point, yeah, man,
Yeah.
trust me, it was very challenging. I mean, full-time family, you go to work, you come home, but say you got to do some schoolwork. So it was very challenging. So at that time, at that point in my career, I mean, I'd already had a significant practical experience in wealth management and client relationships. Right. So what drove me to pursue the MBA at that time was really the desire to strengthen my technical and strategic understanding of the industry. So as I said, I was in the industry for probably about 20 years at the time, or almost close to that. So I wanted to complement that experience with formal training in areas like financial management, risk management, and investment strategy. So it was really a very intentional decision where I saw it as an investment in, really to position myself for leadership roles in the organization and just to expand my impact in wealth management.
Well, you said something very powerful a while ago, because a lot of people, they don't look at education at that level as an investment, right? And I can tell you, as you mentioned, it's a strategic to position yourself strategically for leadership roles and certain roles in the bank. You have to, like, I'm not saying you can't achieve it without that, but if you have that, it's very strategic because again, your resume is at the top of the pile, right? So
I tell you.
Yeah, and it's an investment.
Yeah, man,
right?
it really is. I mean, yeah, gone are the days when you can enter an institution without having a degree, right? So if you are thinking about career and down the road, it's an investment in yourself to position yourself for future roles that will come up because you can have the technical knowledge and the experience, but having that degree also shows some level of commitment. You're learning the fundamentals of certain things and the strategic thinking that you can now apply to different, that critical thinking to apply to different scenarios that will arise in your day-to-day environment.
Sometimes some customer will come with some stuff where I wonder, say, yo, how you find yourself in this position? And they turn to the magic man, you say, hey, listen, I want to get to this target by XYZ time, and you have to be very creative with your solutions. But tell me something, in terms of, I don't know if I should say your mindset or, how you think about the way money works and how it's managed. Did education change that, or do you think that like the 20 years of experience was, enough to help you with those decision making scenarios that you faced after?
Well, it definitely, absolutely did. It did. I mean, on the job, I would have developed a very practical view of money. You focus on the client need and the service and the result and getting that financial objective. So what going back and gaining that MBA at that time, what it did was to broaden that perspective that I already had. So it really augmented what I already had from the experience. So it definitely made me more strategic, and I started looking beyond just the immediate solutions to long-term financial outcomes. It gives you exposure to risk-adjusted returns and a bigger economic picture, right? So it really strengthens how I advise clients today, because as I said, you have the practical view and the experience, but certainly going and gaining that degree would have broadened and given me a bigger picture and better able to have discussions and advise my clients. So it definitely changed my view of money.
Especially from
Before.
a strategy perspective and
Oh, definitely.
long-term, yeah, outlook. Yeah, man, love that.
In simple terms, right? Does wealth management actually mean in everyday language?
Okay, good question. So wealth management. Now, as the name management suggests, and wealth, right? What it basically means is that it helping you to grow, protect, and use your money wisely over time. So it simply means that making sure your money is working for you now and in the future. Right. So if you want, you can think of it in a simply, think of it like on a farm. So you're planting, so you're saving and
Mhm.
investing, you're growing. Now that is the time when you're building a wealth over a period of time. Now we're also
Yes.
protecting, right? Because a lot of persons don't realize that insurance plays a critical part of wealth management. So that is something that is often overlooked. So the protecting you want to thinking about insurance and you're thinking about avoiding any bad decision. And then at the end of the day, you're harvesting. So you're using the money when you need it. So you're looking at retirement, you're looking at business purposes, you're looking at the kids. I mean, you're looking at it for a vacation as well. I mean, you work hard, you know? So that is what it basically mean in wealth management. It means that you're budgeting properly, so you know where your money is going. You're saving consistently, so you're building that security by having these funds, and you're investing wisely and getting right investment advice, and you're planning ahead, which is also key. You're thinking about any
The future.
emergencies. You're thinking
You
about
mentioned a,
retirement. There, go
you
ahead.
mentioned a keyword there. You mentioned a keyword there before we move on. Insurance. Now, in the Jamaica society, once you mention insurance or a child mention insurance to a parent or a parent to a child, or wherever I take it to the family tree, people think you're looking to kill them. How do you
I kill
explain
you,
how
kill me off.
and I've heard this a lot. I've heard this a lot.
Yeah,
So
that's so
how,
true.
how do you explain to our audience who are now watching how important being insured is and how it takes plays in someone's life and make their life even better in
Okay.
circumstances?
So I'm really not so much into insurance. So but let me tell you what insurance is. It's an assurance. It's giving yourself an assurance, right? That if something was to happen to you, then your loved ones are prepared for. All right. So that's simple what it is. That assurance. Because when you take out whether it is a life insurance, a critical illness insurance, an insurance for retirement planning, it's a safety net, it's a peace of mind to say if something happens, there's this assurance that my loved ones will be taken care of at that time. Right. So I know, as you pointed out with her, that person wants them to say, boy, insurance and start to think all kind of things nefarious. Right. But it's very critical to protect. It's a protection to protect what you already have and thinking about the future.
Point well taken. I hope we give some knowledge towards that. And Jamaicans, it's very important to get it done. We don't
Yeah, man.
necessarily have to come for the negative.
No, as a
One
matter of
one of
fact,
these days,
if you guys are interested in hearing about insurance, I can always have a
yes.
conversation with a colleague to highlight
Yeah,
the
man.
need for insurance because that is something that
That's
is
exactly
very,
what I
very
was about
important.
to say.
Yeah, that's something that we can definitely work on.
Yes, because in the company would want to insure Jackson.
Yeah, It's funny, you touch on something that is very important. Retirement.
Uh-huh.
And oftentimes in Jamaica, the parents' retirement plan is their kids.
Yeah, I know.
So, and also wealth management. Oftentimes, most people in Jamaica think that's just for rich people. Is that true?
That is a misconception. That wealth management is only for rich people, right? I mean, if you do have rich, quote unquote, no, it does give you access to like dedicated advisors, which has somewhat changed because anybody can come in out to a financial institution and speak to a wealth advisor, right? So you don't necessarily have that dedicated advisor just for rich people, quote unquote, right? So that's not necessarily true. So the principles of wealth management goes across the board. It doesn't matter if somebody has a significant amount of funds as compared to somebody with a less amount of funds. What the principles of wealth management, it apply to everyone, no matter what income level they are, right? So if you budget your money, if you're saving consistently, invest what you can, you're planning for the future, and you're protecting yourself from risk. Those are all principles of wealth management, right? So it doesn't mean that you have to have a significant amount of funds. So what we really need to do is to really shift the mindset, right? Because a lot of person will be thinking, you know what, I need to have all of this money before I can invest and manage my money. So you want to move people from that to a point now where they said, if I start manage, if I start managing my money when I have more, you want to move them from that and move them to the point is that you manage your money first so you can have more down the road, right? So the takeaway is that wealth management isn't for rich people, but it's something that helps persons along that journey to become rich and to stay that way.
So
As
they
you do
can,
right.
so they can come in with their partner, John.
Can come in with the partner. Yeah, man. They can come in with the partner draw. And as I say, it's a misconception to think that you need to have a lot of money to be investing, right? Really a misconception because there's this component that you want to start early and you don't have to have a lot.
And in many cases, there are different on the stock market. There are different shares that are available for persons to invest in, and it costs probably 1,000 Jamaican dollar or whatever. It's not really you have to have this as lump sum of money to invest. So there are different places they can invest.
Yeah, man. So not only the stock market, but there are instruments and investment solutions offered by different institutions that will
Could you name
allow.
some?
So we have a simple one is a unit trust investment. Right, and our unit trust investment is offered by almost most financial institutions. So a unit trust investment is what is called a collective or a pool investment, where investors' funds are pooled together and invested in different underlying assets. So what it does, it allows persons with very small amount. You can start a unit trust investment with $5,000 or $10,000.
All right.
Yeah, man. So what it does, it allows these individuals to be able to invest in assets and benefiting from the growth in those assets if they were unable to do so by themselves, right? So you may have a money market unit trust. You may have a real estate unit trust whereby the funds are pooled and the fund manager invest these funds in these asset real estate. Now, an individual may not have 50 million or $100 million to buy a property, right? And to benefit from the appreciation in the property value. But part of the unit trust, it allows you to benefit from that gain because your funds are consolidated and invested in these assets. So it doesn't require a
Right.
significant amount. So there are different options depending on the risk profile of the client, their objective, and their timeline. And then a financial advisor will have that discussion and make that recommendation in terms of getting them along on that journey.
Very interesting to
Yeah.
know.
And
Mm.
you made a very good point a while ago about folks hesitating to come to the bank because they're saying, "Oh, I mean, I have no money to invest." But we're interviewing someone that from a gym recently, and coincidentally, it's the same reason why people don't come to the gym because they say, "I'm not fit enough, so I'm not
Ah,
going to the gym." Right? So it's very similar because at the end of the day, you go to the gym to get fit. In the very same way, you speak to a wealth advisor for make money, if you get to a point where your money starts to grow, and you can see some fruits from all of your labor, right?
yeah,
So
man,
is
that is so true. And I like that analogy. I really do.
yeah, man.
And I always say, I mean, persons, they will go to doctors and they will go all of these professionals for advice, but they don't really think to come and think about their financial well-being, and that is important as well. So you want to speak to someone who is knowledgeable, who is licensed to give you that sort of investment advice to guide you along that
Yeah.
journey.
Just for a everyday person, so not somebody that's wealthy, but just for a regular person, what would you say like a healthy financial lifestyle would look like for a regular person? Well,
Uh,
I don't like
Okay.
to use the term regular, because but the average person,
Average person. All
yeah.
right. So first of all, you want to be in control. So you want to have a budget, right? So you
First
want to
thing,
know,
right?
yeah, man, you want to know
Okay,
your
there you
your
go.
income, your income, when your income is coming and your main expenses, right? So that is the first thing. And so you want to be in control of that information. And you're not constantly wondering where did my money go, because your budget would have indicated what your main expenses are, right? So you don't need a perfect budget to identify everything. You just need that awareness and control to identify what the major expenses are. And another financial, as I put it, a healthy financial life looks like you're not living from paycheck to paycheck, right? So you can cover your basic needs comfortable, and there's some funds left over after you have accounted for the bills, right? So
Mhm.
that is important. And any unexpected costs don't throw you completely off, because you would have been making some preparation for anything like that, right? So even a small buffer is a sign of progress, because as I said, you really want to have that safety net if anything is to happen. So you want to have some savings set aside, even if it is a small amount. All right.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that you want to look at. You also want to look at if you have debt, that it is manageable or minimal. So you're not drowning in repayments, you're not overburdened by high interest rate. That is
So
under control. So because that is also very important, right?
hold on, hold on.
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
are you giving us those in order of importance? Like, what would you say is, what should they focus on first? It sounds like you should the first thing you should do is budget. So the
Yeah, the
second thing you said
budget.
was saving, and then you said debt. But is that the order?
No, I would say though the first order is really the debt. You want to ensure that boy don't have any debt
After
where
budget?
wipe it out all of your thing, right? So you want to
Yeah, yeah.
look at, I mean, the high interest rate, because it doesn't make sense that you have a loan or a debt that you are paying 20-30% on, and if you were to try save and invest some money, you're only earning 5 to 6% on it. So first, you definitely want to reduce those high cost instruments, those debt instruments that are taking you so much out of what you earn, right? So you want to focus on clearing off those high interested credit card, payday loan, higher purchases, right? And then you want to as I said, pay down those aggressively if you can, and avoid taking on any new bad debt. All right. So you'd want to do that first, and then you'd want to build emergency savings, whereby that will now account for any emergency. So you'd want to aim, say anywhere, say $50,000 to start, and keep it somewhere, that you can access it, because these are rainy day and emergency funds. All right. And then the third thing, then you'd start to invest. Once your debt is under control and you have a safety net, a basic safety net, then you can start investing, looking at like unit trust or any other investment account.
Quick question. For persons overseas or are looking to return to Jamaica, and they're saying that, they're very cautious in doing business in Jamaica, how would you, as a investment master yourself, assist these persons towards making proper investment, if they're watching and listening to you right now?
Well, firstly, you'd have to acknowledge how the person is feeling. Then you'd want to identify why they're feeling that way. Once you have established the reason why they are feeling that way, then you'd want to address those. It could be something that they are not fully understanding or educated about. So you want to clarify those points, and once they are comfortable, then you find out what are their objectives that they want to achieve, what are the risks that they can manage to take at that point in time. So once you have established those, then I think then that person would be in a better position at that point to move forward with investing, because there are a lot of opportunities here in Jamaica that that persons can benefit from.
You have any that you like to make mention of, opportunities for persons overseas?
I mean, real estate is a prime example that persons can partake in. If not purchasing the property themselves, there are several real estate unit trusts that are offered by different financial institutions. So that is one. But I ideally would want persons to really have that discussion with an wealth advisor at a financial institution, just to identify their objectives, because different individuals
So
will
if they're
have
watching right here at this moment and want to get in contact with you, how's the best way?
Well, they can contact NCB Capital Markets. Our number is 9607108. They can request to speak to an advisor, who will guide them through that process.
Okay.
Now,
And as I said, there are other financial institutions. There are quite a few financial institutions. Once they are comfortable with their advice and the advice that they're being given.
Are you one of them to call?
I might just want to call you.
Answer my name. Go ahead,
No.
Q.
What are some mistake, or what is one mistake you see people make over and over and over again?
One mistake. All right. One mistake that I see people do over and over, that they do not pay themselves. They do not invest, and they do everything else, but they do not invest first. Right? So that is one key mistake that persons do. There is a rule of thumb that you are to pay yourself minimum 10% of your income. Right? And that should go towards
richest man in Babylon.
Right. So that is something that you would want persons to do, to encourage persons to do, to pay themselves first, because the truth is persons tend to pay the bills and everything else. And then at that point, after all of those are taken care of, that is when they want to do an investment. And I'm saying it should be the other way around. And I'm not saying that the bills are not important; those are daily expenses. But you have to be thinking about your future. You have to thinking about your children's future if you do have children, and paying yourself first. That 10% certainly goes a long way in achieving that objective.
That is a very
I
tricky
like that.
one. You're working
I
and
like
not
that.
being yourself.
Come on, we should. And I mean, you work hard, I mean, so, you can't just be working to pay the bills. You want to build that nest egg for that rainy day. Anything can happen. So you want to ensure that you have those funds put away.
And
Nice.
paying yourself is actually savings.
It definitely is.
Mhm.
If someone wants to invest, but they have a small amount, like 5 to 15,000, 5, 10, 15,000, what would you suggest?
A small amount.
Enough money
If
there.
someone has say $5,000 to $10,000, so you and that's a good amount that you can start with, right?
Yeah, that's a
It's
good.
not too small, because what you want to encourage, that you're not looking at the amount. What you want to develop and create is really a habit and a behavior, right? And be disciplined about it. So there are some simple options that persons can look at. I did mention the unit trust funds that are offered by various financial institutions. And as I said, the advantage with the unit trust is that your amount of funds that you are investing, right, it goes toward a pool which the fund manager now invest those funds in assets that you would not be able to invest in with your smaller amount, right? So you're using this collective money, you're leveraging the experience and the knowledge of the fund manager to invest these funds in assets that are going to grow over the long term and increase your wealth, right? So
Mhm.
what you want to do is you want to be consistent. If you can set up a standing order, most institutions do that, where you can set up a standing order and the funds are automatically deducted from an account at whatever frequency you would have indicated, right? So you want, if it is that you can do monthly, you can do a small amount on a monthly basis depending on your circumstances, then you'd want to do that, right? So certainly the unit trust is an ideal instrument for persons with small amount and they are thinking, but what can I do with those funds? Then the unit trust is an ideal investment instrument for that.
Nice. Thank you.
I was
And,
going to
and,
ask
and,
a
and
question.
before, yeah, so
Yeah.
before I go though, I should add that one of the things that you'd want to encourage as well is that you just want to leave it alone and let it grow. The compounding effect is really significant, right?
Long term.
It's so much better to start early with small amount than trying to wait down the road to say, boy, you know what, I'm going to wait until I get a lump sum or a large amount of funds to invest. That compounding effect with that small amount, you'd be surprised how significant the returns will be over a period of time.
Okay.
And just to add to that, I think most HRs, in Jamaica, if you go to them and say, hey, I want you to take $1,000 out of my pay every week, I send it to NCB Capital Markets or wherever you have your investment set up, send it over there so that it doesn't come in my checking account, in my account where I'm
Bank
getting paid.
account.
Right. It goes over to there. I don't touch it all. It come up for me, see it. Now that paycheck that you're getting, you're going to get acclimated. You're going to get used to it. Right. So if you're getting $10,000, 11,000, and you send 1,000 to invest, and you get used to the 10,000, you're going to budget yourself to work with the 10,000 and make it
Oh
work.
yeah, man,
Right.
you are. It's a
So
mindset. It's a
it's a
mindset thing,
mindset thing.
It's a
Exactly.
mindset shift. It's a
Yeah.
mindset.
And
Yeah,
then you
man.
see the
So
money we are
that,
going, so don't even check for it. Because you see when you
yeah,
check,
man.
sometimes you look at it and you see the balance you get. You get all kind of ideas all of a sudden, You need a clocks, you want to get something nice, you feel for something nice, you go dry it out. But anyway,
Yeah, man, and for places that doesn't do the HR won't do it. You can most persons don't have online banking, right? So you can set up a standing order that as a salary, we're getting paid on the 25th. You set up a standing order for the same day that once the money comes into the account, the salary, then it goes out.
automatically.
That is your 10% going to an investment account.
Amazing. All right. And I had a question about investments. I know sometimes you don't know what you don't know, right? And sometimes there are such amazing opportunities there, but you just don't know about it. Are there any investment options that people overlook a lot of times or simply don't understand?
I'm gonna come back, Kemar, to the unit trust investment.
The unit trust.
Yeah,
I see you
man.
like that one.
No, so why I love the unit trust, as I said,
Yeah.
it allows individuals with small amount of funds to benefit from an asset that you could not buy. You have a
Couldn't buy.
$10,000, you could not buy a government security with that amount of money. If you're a conservative investor and don't want to go in anything risky, and you have $10,000, there are like money market unit trust that is for conservative investors that invest primarily or mostly in short-term instruments, government instruments. Your $10,000, you could not go and do that, right? No, with the unit trust investment, what that does, it gives you that opportunity now because your funds are pooled together to make a larger amount, and the fund manager now invest that in that instrument. So it now gives you that opportunity to benefit from the returns on that instrument that you yourself, with your small amount, will not be able to do. So that is the money market fund. There are funds like
So
real estate unit trust, whereby funds are pooled again, invested in the assets which are real estate, right? Somebody with $10,000 could not go and buy a property, right? But if you participate in a fund that invests
yeah.
in those properties, you are now benefiting when those property values appreciate, right? So unit trust will be one of those investment. I think persons think may not be aware of, or they think it's something that is too complicated or too risky. They may associate it with investment in the stock market and the volatility of the stock market. They think that they're going to be losing their money, right? But as I said, a unit trust is professionally managed by a fund manager, and you have different level of risk depending on the individual and what type of risk they can take. All right, so it's really an easy
This
way for person to invest without having to buy the asset themselves. Yes, go ahead, Kamar.
yes. So you mentioned conservative investor. That's a type of risk, right? Do you would you
A
mind like
profile.
kind of like a profile? Okay. Do you mind just giving us a quick rundown of what like explain what risk means and how you categorize those? I don't know if you can
um
do it quick.
all
Take all
right,
the
yeah,
time you
so
need.
so
Yeah.
so so first of all, if a client comes and boy, they're concerned about their money, and quite rightly
Yeah.
so, they work hard and they want to do, they don't want anything to lose their money. You'd want to assure them, you want to acknowledge that, right? So what I tend to do as well is to use an analogy, to explain to them, like, so, risk, think of it like you're driving, right? You can avoid the risk by say, you're not going to drive, but then you can't get anywhere if you don't drive, right? So if you
Mm-hmm.
do go out, what you have to do, you have to manage your risk by driving carefully, you're using a seatbelt, right? And choosing the best road possibly. So what I do is I'd explain that there are different types of risk, including the one of not growing the money any at all, because that is a risk itself
That
that
is
you're not
also a
earning.
risk
That is
in
a risk
action.
itself.
Mhm.
All right. So from there, then you want to focus on education because a lot of the times the clients don't fully understand the risk. The objective really is to minimize the risk as best as possible because nothing is risk-free in this world, right? So you want to minimize the risk, find out what level of risk the customer, the client can take, and then you want to make recommendations based on the risk and how comfortable they feel with that particular investment. Right. So once they build, once they've done the explanation, that will build the confidence and help them along that journey.
Love that.
You
See
know,
people, that's why I need to call him.
you know, you kind of did answer this question already, but I'm going to still go ahead and ask it. So would you say it's better to invest small amount consistently or wait until you have enough to invest in a property?
Definitely in most cases, right? In most cases, and I would say 95, it's better to start small and invest consistently rather than wait until you feel you have enough. All right, because what happens is that starting early will allow you to benefit from compounding, right? And what that does over an extended period of time, the compounding effect is real. All right, and
Mhm.
also what it does, it with a small amount, it helps to build the discipline and the confidence, right? Building wealth is a long-term thing. Very, very rarely you're going to just happen overnight and creating wealth. It's more a long-term approach. So you want to be disciplined, you want to be investing early and having those funds compounded. Right. So as I pointed out before, even with the situation with the 5,000 to 10,000, you don't really need a lot to start. You really just need to start. And what will build the wealth over a period of time is the consistency of doing those on a monthly basis if you can afford to, which I'd suggest that you can, and not waiting on the road to say, boy, I want to wait until I get a lump sum. So
Nice.
definitely starting early and with small amount and being consistent.
Now, you're a wealth manager, and if you should leave a simple rule about wealth to the average Jamaican or to anyone who's listening about the everyday life, what would that be?
All right, that's really a good question. And I'm going to come back to what I said about paying that 10%. Always pay yourself first, right? Everything else is going to be taken care of. And with 10, most persons tend to leave nothing at all for investing. So before you pay your bills, before you spend, before anything else, set aside a small portion of your income for saving or investment, even if it's a small amount. So, and I'm going to tell you why it is important. You want to build a safety net, right? Anywhere. I mean, once we're alive, life is unpredictable. We can have job change, medical costs, any sort of emergency. Savings and investment give you a breathing room. So you want to make sure that you do have something set aside. All right. Um, it also helps to create long-term wealth. Whether it's, as I pointed out, like a unit trust investment or any account, even for a saving purpose, you want to consistently do that. All right. So you start with 10% of the income or 5% if things are really tight, but you really just want to start. You can always increase it over a period of time if things improve. All right. And as I pointed out, set up a standing order where it comes out automatically. Or as Kemar said, if your employer will allow a salary deduction. Right. So you really want to shift that mindset to say that you want to move from I'll save if I can to the point where that saving is the first thing that I want to do. All right. So I think that one habit can really change your financial future, no matter your income level. Yeah, so that I would say would be definitely be the one thing.
Now, talking about investment and saving is nice, but would you say expansion bring recession?
If you say expansion bring recession,
Yes.
um, expansion in you mean in terms of the economy?
No, for an individual.
Mhm.
who who think to expand in anything. If it's adding on to your house, making your business bigger.
Okay.
Yeah,
If it brings recession,
temporarily.
not necessarily. It depends on the how are you expanding? I mean, where's the source of funds coming from to expand, right? So there are different
Was it
scenarios
planned?
that you can look at, right? Because if it is that on an individual basis, if it is that you would have accumulated, and this is also another reason that persons can invest their funds. You may have a plan down the road, say 2 years down the road, you know what, I have my house and I want to do some expansion to it. So you'd have been making the preparations by consistently putting aside something, right? No, that won't have a significant impact on on you individually, right? So I wouldn't necessarily say that it will lead to recession, right? But the important thing is that having that plan, and this is another thing that we learn as part of the wealth philosophy. There are 3 P's which can apply generally to life. There's a prediction part, the planning, and the perseverance. So the first P is predicting. So likewise, you know that you're going to do the expansion to the house. So you know that that's a prediction, something down the road, 2 years down the road, I want to do that. But how am I going to get the money? I'm going to need 500,000. So this is what I need to do. So that is the planning part. You look at an investment solution, or say you're going to save. And then the third P, which is the perseverance, you have to be consistent with what you're doing and putting aside those monies. That's the only way you're going to achieve those objectives.
Thank you very much, Ron. I tell you, I know that our viewers are listening and they would want to tap in on next time to actually discuss a little more because there's so much things. This is like
Yes.
surface conversation.
Yeah, man,
So
very surface.
so we have to go a little more in depth in the next one. We're going to ask you to join us when you out of your busy schedule when you can. Anything you have to say to anyone who is looking to go into a career such as yours before we go?
Certainly, the career, as I mentioned, is really an important role, because when you think of the responsibility that you have in terms of helping somebody to achieve what they want financially. Because the truth is, most of us want to be comfortable. I think all of us want to be comfortable financially, right? I mean, we're all at different levels, right? So when can help somebody get to where they want to go, right? They want to retire, they want to save for their children's education. And when you can help somebody achieve that, it's really, really a big impact that you're making on an individual, not just that individual, but his family as well. So it's an awesome responsibility, but it's
You
a
definitely tell them
rewarding
that is
one.
a career that they should take in consideration.
Yeah, man. Oh, definitely, definitely.
Okay.
It's a dynamic industry. You learn a lot as well, and as I said,
Definitely.
you're making a real impact on society.
And then when we do, we'll talk again. We'll have chance to go into Jackson's book because he's teaching us how to be a millionaire now in the US.
Yeah, right. But that is the whole
The
idea,
US
though.
millionaire.
That is the whole idea. As I said, creating wealth, and not just for generational wealth as well.
Most definitely, leaving a legacy. Common sense, make it make sense. It was a pleasure having you here with us, Ron, and we look forward to hear from you again.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, guys. I really hope that our discussion will help someone, and it can have a real impact.
Absolutely.
Most definitely.
All right, there you have it. Common sense, make it make sense. Until next time, join us again. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I'm gonna put some information to contact Rohan on the screen here. So yeah, definitely reach out. All right, until next time.
All right, bye.